Hello and welcome everyone to the Live Limitless Summit, where we are focusing all about having conscious, abundant, and empowered relationships. So, to those of you who do not know me, I am Neepam Jain, and I love facilitating and transforming people's limiting belief, pain, and traumas so they can be the best version of themselves. So our life is intertwined with relationships all around. It's whether it is your business, money, husbands, kids, everything. Our life rotates around that. But how to build a conscious and an empowered relationship? And what if you are into a relationship which is toxic, abusive, and suddenly you decide to go through a divorce? So today I have someone very special with us, Kathey Batey. She is a domestic mediator, author, speaker, and corporate trainer on conflict communication. She has been awarded Mediator of the Year for 2019. And she has also created a divorce support anonymous group which programs to walk alongside in the trauma of divorce. She has worked with hundreds of individuals going through this life transitions, and she has 25 years of experience working in the corporate world. So, welcome to the show, Kathy. I'm really excited to have you here and really wish to dive deeper into this conversation about everything about divorce because this is a topic which we generally just swipe it under the mat. We just don't go openly and talk about it. And I'm sure that whenever a person is going through that transition of the transition of their life, there must be a lot of roller coaster of emotions and many ups and downs. So what makes you so passionate and working towards people to help them go through this transition smoothly? Over to you, Kathy, and we would really like to know more about it.
Thank you so much, Meepam. I am thrilled to be here to talk to you about living limitless. And I love that title, that theme, because as we live, no matter how we are living in our lives, we're going to have obstacles. And one of the huge obstacles that we may face is the death of a relationship, a divorce. So I feel so passionate about working with individuals. I experienced my own 22 years ago, and I understand the loneliness and the pain of what people are experiencing. So I wanted to come alongside of them and let them know that they are not alone and that there is hope after going through divorce. Many people feel so devastated by the experience of divorce. And yet, once we walk through this transition with guidance, with having someone who's going to help you through, give you hope, give you encouragement, and also give you some of the steps and tools that are going to help you get through it. So that's my role. I was fortunate 15 years ago to start in this work, and I have loved it, love/hate it, because I hate the pain of it. But
Yes.
I also know that people need hope, and they need to know that you're going to make it through this and you're going to have a beautiful life on the other side of it. And many people don't know that, quite frankly, when they go through that devastation of divorce, and they see the effects upon themselves, upon their children. They're facing an unknown future, unknown financially, unknown emotionally. Their status has changed, their security has changed. So everything has changed for them. And
Yes.
so they are afraid.
Definitely, I do agree to you what you said because that's a very big decision, and in fact stepping into the zone which is really unknown and you're not knowing how you will tackle your kids, about your finances, and there are a lot of bonding there in between two individuals. So when you go through this, what are the basic obstacles you one go through it? What is a roller coaster of emotions, and why it is required to have someone to be supportive at this time?
Yes, great question. Because our emotions, we are so emotional, but our emotions are not trustworthy. because they tell us that we should be afraid, that we can't do this, that we are going to be alone forever. And so we can't trust our emotions. What we can trust is experts. So I always recommend that we get our network of experts. We need experts in the legal world, we need experts in the emotional world, we need experts in the spiritual world, and we need financial experts. So when we get that team around us, and that sounds very expensive, doesn't it? But it doesn't have to be so expensive. That spiritual guidance may be within your church, that emotional may be a therapist or a really well-trained friend. So, but we need that structure so that we are not going through this territory, this journey we've never been on before alone. So I highly recommend, that's one of the things that I mentioned in my book, is get your network of experts to help guide you through it. And you've never been here before,
Yes,
so you don't know all of the pitfalls
yes.
that you need to know.
That is so true, actually. And so, do you guide people through their divorce legally, and what is it?
Okay, well, I guide them through every step of the way. I am not an attorney, so I don't give them legal advice. But what I do is I have this little workbook that costs nothing. You just request it. I only need your email. And I send this to you to help you prepare to see your attorney. So people think, okay, I'll go see my attorney. And then they're going to spend the first hour or two talking about the situation, about all of the pain, about all of the betrayal, all of the emotional part of it. And then they're going to talk to the attorney and say, okay, now these are the documents that I need you to gather. I need you to get your tax statements. I need you to get all of these office. You have spent a couple of hours and they are charging you. In the States, it's about $350 is the average cost of an attorney. So it's very expensive. So this little workbook, which costs you nothing, helps you prepare. So I am a domestic mediator. So I can help guide people on what to expect in a mediation and tell them, just give them some direction and guidance through that process.
That's lovely. I know that's really lovely. So one of the question I would like to ask you is, what is the difference between having partner alive? I mean, you're divorced, and one who has just passed away is no more. So is this the feeling is just the same? Do you the emotions which you go through is just the same, or how is it?
It can be, it's more definitive and complete when you have the death of a spouse. But now, in many people's situations, you are grieving a person who is still living and you still have to deal with. And that makes it extremely excruciating. So there are many similarities. When you go through a divorce, you do need to spend the appropriate time grieving the death of this relationship. So that's similar to grieving the absence of a person in death. There are many similarities. I will tell you that I've had people who have experienced both and have told me that they thought the divorce was more painful, simply because that it wasn't conclusive. It still remains that you have to have this relationship with this person. So there are many similarities, but there are also many differences.
Okay, so when is the time when one should really decide on this biggest decision? Is there a measure or a way out? Okay, now this is I can't take anymore, because women especially, they think a lot before taking this major decision of their life, and they still continue because maybe they they need a father for their kids, or a lot many things, maybe societal pressure, parents pressure, just continue with that. So, what do you
Mhm.
suggest, and how do you take it? Like, if someone comes to you with the thing that they're going through a toxic or abusive relationship, so when is the time you said, okay, nothing doing? This is the time you should take step.
Again, a wonderful question because it is a big step and it is a painful step. However, if you're in an abusive situation, you need to make this step. And I know you want, and we'll speak primarily to women, excuse me.
Yeah,
I know you want that security, that society security. But if there is an abuse in the situation and it is a destructive marriage, this person has already left the holiness, if you will, of marriage. So there's not a marriage. It's not what you consider an honest marriage. What it is an abusive situation that you are not being respected, you are not being cherished, and it's never the way that God intended a marriage to be. So if what I always tell people is at first I listen to their story and then I ask them, can this marriage be saved? Can Have you done all that you can to save this marriage? I would love to save marriages, but I do meet women who are in abusive situations, who feel the guilt of leaving, and they need to protect themselves. And if you are living in an abusive situation, this is never what God intended for a relationship to be. And you need to protect yourself. And that may be stepping out of the marriage. I never advise people on what to do. What I do is I give them their choices. And then I give them information, which is really questions, asking them about what is best for them. What is going to be the long term best um, outcome for them and the children. Divorce is very painful. Would never want anyone to go through it, quite honestly. But sometimes this very messy transition is going to save us, and
yeah,
it's also going to give us a future and for our children.
true. That is so true. So, Kathy, tell me, what are the some important things people need to know before their divorce?
Before their divorce, they need to get some guidance. They need to perhaps see a counselor to help them process through all of the things that they are considering, to look at what might be the result of this step in taking divorce. So they need to get that guidance around them in making those decisions. They need to say, have I done all that I could to save this marriage? And then they need to proceed with what is best for them.
Okay, great. So, and what are the important things which they need to know when they are going during the divorce time?
Yes, well, they need support. They need someone that they can talk with and process through all of the trauma that is happening within their heart, their mind, their life. They need guidance. And that's why I have created the support groups, because it's so valuable when you're sitting with a group of people and you hear someone articulate your pain and you realize, yes, that's how I'm feeling. That's what's happening to me. It is so incredibly valuable to a person to have that normalized, to say, I'm not crazy with all these feelings that I'm feeling. I'm just going through a trauma. And it's okay that I feel this way and that I feel this craziness in my mind, this incredibly devastating pain. To understand that is really, really helpful. And then as we go through divorce, we need guidance through it. But then when we come on the other side of it, we need to say, okay, what now? How do I create a life for myself and for my children that is a beautiful life, that is something that excites me once again? And so the second book in my series, you see here behind me, is the one that helps people to do that.
Okay, amazing. So, you have worked with hundreds of people, individuals who are going through this tough time of their life. So, what is the most difficult thing which you feel, according to you, is to overcome? Is it their emotions? Is this what is it? And how, what do you do? How, what do you suggest them to come out of those emotions? And what is the way out of all these things?
Yes, emotions is exactly right. When we can develop an attitude of strength and power, then we can get through this process. If we can learn to stand up for ourselves, and I see that in mediation, some people don't know how to stand up for themselves because they never have. If we can get that attitude, that belief that we can live limitless wherever we're at and whatever circumstance we are in, we can make it through it. So it is the attitude, and it is having the hope to know that on the other side of this very difficult journey is that beautiful life that I want, that God wants for me.
Great, that was an amazing way out. So, is there in a way you guide them through a process to transmute their emotions, or is there a set way, or how do you do it?
Mhm. Well, we do. We address in the group. We spend a few weeks on the emotions because they are so powerful. And what we do is we identify them. There is great value in identifying when I say, I am afraid. That helps me, that gives me permission to enter into now what can I do about it? But first, we have to acknowledge it. We have to acknowledge I'm lonely. And that again gives us the power to say, okay, I've identified it. Now, what are my choices? What can I do about that? The anger, to admit I am angry. And underneath the surface of anger is a lot of pain. So when we say we are angry, what it really means is I am hurting deeply because of what has happened to me, the injustice of what has happened to me. I'm hurting deeply. And so we identify that anger and that pain of what that means. And then again, we can begin to look at how do I handle this anger? How do I handle this loneliness? What are my choices? With the anger, there are many choices. We could do really stupid things that hurt us, that hurt our children, that hurt our future. Or we can look at this as a sense of pain and how do I help myself through this anger? And again, when you're in group and you hear people who relate to what you're saying or identify what you're saying, it's very, very empowering.
And actually, when you have support like this, I think the transition becomes a smoother one.
Absolutely, it does. It does indeed. So many people come into my group and they're very raw in the beginning, very raw. But then as we spend the 10 weeks together, toward the end, you start to see their shoulders drop. They begin to just have some hope and say, you know what, I can do this. It's difficult, it's painful, but I can do. And people ask me, why do you do this? It's so painful. But it's that very transition that I see in working with individuals that come from this very raw, difficult space into a place of empowerment, of saying, I have choices and I'm going to make the right ones for myself and for my children.
Lovely. That's really amazing. That support group. I'm definitely the kind of work you're doing. I'm really impressed by that. And yeah. So before we wind up, Kathy, any few tips you would like to give it to the I mean, mothers or the couples who are going through this transition? Any tips for them? Any resourceful thing which you can just provide them?
Yes, absolutely. Don't go through it alone. That is first and foremost. If you don't join my program or get my books, just make sure that you are not going through this experience alone, because it is very difficult. There are many landmines that you could fall into. So you want to make some very careful, strategic steps to know exactly what are your choices, so you can make some wise decisions in those choices.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Kathy. And if people wish to find you, where they can find you?
Yes, thank you so much. I do have a website, Divorce Support Anonymous. I also have a Facebook page and a Facebook private group. And I hold Facebook Lives every Friday night. Here in the States, it's 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I just provide information that is going to help you get through the experience of divorce. So you can connect with me through any of those ways, and I'd be more than happy to speak with you and see if I might be of help with you.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for giving your time. And it was really amazing talking with you and your resourceful books. They're a great resource for anyone who is feeling like a fish out of the water and uncertain how to do a life solo. So, definitely, it's a to go book for. And thank you, viewers, for your time spending this hours with us and having us here. And I really know that this conversation will definitely give you some kind of resource. And you can get in touch with Kathy at her Facebook groups. And if you want to take this conversation deeper, you can join my Facebook group. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kathy, for your time. Thank you so
Thank,
much.
thank you so much, Neepam.
Thank you. Thank you, viewers. Stay safe, stay healthy, love yourself a little more. Bye. See you next time.